It is
Recording in
7:01. We will call the meeting to order. First is flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Chrisma. Hi.
Okay, Ms. Bolenbacher. Here. Mr. Chandler,
Here.
Ms. Compatello,
here.
Mr. Ho,
Here.
Mr. Oliverio,
Here.
Ms. Polkownik, Mr. Rodilla. Mayor Perry is absent, Solicitor Corbel,
Here.
engineer is not here, and Manager Price is on Zoom.
There's nothing.
Or he will be. We have a quorum.
Okay. Do we, I wonder if because I have my phone off. Uh-oh, the meeting hasn't started yet. Thanks, Jim. Has it?
So it hasn't me. That's what we get, Christmas first.
We were so sure.
Do we need to do it again?
Sure.
Okay,
Running over this.
that was just a test. Okay,
There you go.
is he back? Oh,
Yeah, he's there.
all right, we're gonna call the meeting to order at 7:03. First thing is our flag salute. Back again. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, Christmas.
Okay, Ms. Bolenbacher,
Still here.
Mr. Chandler,
Here.
Ms. Compatello,
Here.
Mr. Ho,
Here.
Mr. Oliverio,
Here,
Ms. Polkownik is absent, Mr. Rodilla is absent, Mayor Perry, she on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Perry is on Zoom, Solicitor Corbel,
Here.
no engineer, and Manager Price,
Here.
we have a quorum.
great, thank you. The consent agenda. So the meeting minutes, council meeting minutes from February 22nd, our last meeting, and also the bill list from March 14th, are both on the OneDrive for council to review. Need a motion to approve the March 14th, 2024 consent agenda.
Sunday.
Ms. Bolenbacher,
Second.
Mr. Chandler, any discussion or questions? We are still holding the Dower Muscle and the Zoneco invoices from before, so those are not a part of this approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comments on agenda items. At this time, citizens may address the Grafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Grafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Do we have anybody on the list? Okay. Anybody on the phone, please raise your hand. All right. President's report. Our first item is a report from the library. Ms. Hickman. Hi. Yes. Make sure it's on.
Hello.
No, no.
No.
So potentially on the switch.
Mhm.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Hickman. I'm the borough representative on the Grafton Public Library Board of Trustees. And I'm here just to give you a brief update on some things going on with the library. Our last meeting was in January. We approved the budget for 2024 at that meeting. We also, this was our first meeting with our new Board of Trustees President, Sharon Wilson. Cheryl stepped down at the end of 2023, so we're happy to have Sharon as president. Also, Andrea Marquis is now serving as the vice president and also a borough representative. Daniel McKay is serving as the secretary. Anna Maria Maheliga is serving as the treasurer, and Carrie Woodard is a member. There has been some recent confusion about Board of Trustees. You know what? I did theater, like I did.
The only problem is people can't hear you on the video, yeah.
We actually can hear her on the video. The mics are picking her up pretty well.
Okay, so there has been some recent confusion about the appointments for the borough representatives. I believe the term that I was filling ended at the end of February, and Andrea's term ended at the end of January. Currently, we are still serving as we have been. It was suggested by Jim Price that I fulfill my duties till the end of March 2025, and I believe that I think that's what we're going to be doing going forward. Andrea is the vice president of the Board of Trustees, so it would be good to have her as a member in some capacity. But we do have 4 applications right now for that borough representative position, and Andrea could then become just a regular Board of Trustees member and still serve as the vice president. So we will be discussing that at our next meeting in March. It's actually on Tuesday. So, and we will keep you updated on how that goes. And if you have any feedback on how you would like that to look, we'd love to hear that as well. It has been suggested that maybe there'd be some synchronization between those positions, just so it's not confusing in the future. Other things that I wanted to bring to your attention at our January meeting, Alyssa recommended that there be a new cell phone policy at the library, no talking on cell phones in the library. This has been an issue at the front circulation desk, people talking loudly on their phones when they're trying to do transactions and bothering other people. We all, voted to trust Alyssa's best judgment on that one. It has also been now at our last 2 board meetings, a topic of discussion about designating the Crafton Public Library as the library for Ingram. This would take, I believe, quite a significant financial investment on the part of Ingram, and would probably require some cooperation, some collaboration with Crafton Borough Council to facilitate that. So if that's something that you would like to, discuss further and let us know how you'd like us to proceed. That's just something that's kind of been that we keep tossing around. And then let's see. Financials, we remain in a very healthy place over at the library. I can send you a copy of the budgets if you would like those exact numbers. And I think that's about all that I have, unless you have any questions. Yes.
The Ingram Library collaboration, can you explain a little more like what the advantages would be for Crafton and Ingram and together?
I think that's something that we're still trying to flesh out too. I think Alyssa is going to be preparing more of a report for us. So I will be able to share more of that information with you in the future, but that's a really excellent question.
I can give a little back knowledge on that as well.
Thank you.
Yep. Alyssa and I have had several conversations about this. And I have talked to Sam, the president of Ingram's council, and he's interested, or at least he was in the initial conversation. When we initially had this conversation, we thought that it'll essentially bring more RAD funding to, so every library that's officially the library of a community gets RAD funding, and they get it based on the population of the community where they are. However, something that we didn't know when we first talked to Sam was that Ingram also has to chip in a pretty significant chunk of money. So we have to discuss whether the RAD funding that they receive will offset what Ingram has to pay and whether they're interested in doing it. So they're still interested. And we just have to narrow down what it'll cost everyone. But it won't negatively affect Crafton at all. It'll only benefit Crafton if other communities become members of Crafton Library. It's just a matter of getting them to commit, and they have to realize that they have to have a financial contribution as well. But then it also, one other thing that it does allow is it then allows Alyssa and the library to reach out to Ingram community members for donations and memberships.
Thank you, Jim. The only other thing, currently like adult community programming is going really well with the library. Alyssa's doing a great job with that. As part of of our own strategic plan initiative, it is a goal to do some more teen outreach this year. So we are going to be continuing to collaborate and get ideas from her about how that will look. And that is all. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So what time's your meeting on Tuesday?
It is at 6:30.
Thank you, Ms. Hickman.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Mayor's report. Ms. Perry talk.
She does 7, 8, 9 now.
Um,
The 266 or something.
let's see.
266.
No.
I think that is.
it's 7, 8, 9 notes that she.
No, 262666215.
This is her.
Oh, she said she doesn't have anything.
Okay. Very good. Next is solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to announce council held an executive session prior to the meeting to discuss personnel and property matters. That's the end of my report.
Thanks. Engineers report. Is this Mr. Price or Ms. Contello?
I thought Kirsten, you were going to take it, and then if you need any assistance, I'll hop in.
Okay, I can do it. So we have some updates from the engineers report, and also the engineering infrastructure committee did meet this week. The Broadhead project is proceeding. This is one of our stormwater projects that we've been giving updates on for the past year or so. It's moving forward. We're working on obtaining easements for several properties along Broadhead. They're just small front easements that we need to obtain because some of the stormwater improvements and infrastructure improvements will be going under portions of those front yards, but those are all in progress. They're relatively minor and they're moving forward. That project is proceeding on schedule and will continue to proceed this year. The Public Works Building, another project we've been giving updates on for some time. We do have a grant that we've received that we had received previously for $200,000 because of the various changes and delays and additions to that project. That grant money is coming up to its expiration date. It'll be expiring in June 2024. We have been actively looking at ways that are eligible for that grant fund, which was received several years ago. Eligible ways that we can use that without changing any of the terms of the grant. And one of the things that we're looking at is purchasing the doors and some of the utilities to complete out the building, which is an eligible use of those funds. So we're hoping that we can use that $200,000 before it expires and get the doors into the building. There are a fair number of doors and they do have a cost. So that we'll likely use that funding. We just have to find a vendor who can get the doors in time. We're also working with Pitt students to do some sustainability studies. And one of the things that they're looking at is the Public Works Building and looking at ways to identify ways to make it more sustainable and some improvements that we can do in the future as we finalize the interior of that building. The stairs project, we had previously, towards the end of last year, put a bid out for 5 different sets of stairs that needed improvements. We had gone through a process of assessing them all and identifying the 5 that were most in need of improvement. We do have other stairs beyond that that will continue assessing and trying to seek additional funds. But we had 2 different grant funds last year that we can use to upgrading those stairs. And we had looked to put out the bid for 5 different stair projects using the grant funding that we had. The bids did come in higher than we expected, so we ended up giving an award for just 1 project late last year, and we put the other 4 out to rebid with a few adjustments to try to get a better price. And we did get results on that and make a decision at our last council meeting. So that stairs project is moving forward. The Belvedere stairs, the stair upgrade started this week, and a construction schedule for the other projects is underway. The 2024 road paving plan. We do a road paving program each year. We've been following a 5-year plan where we identify each year the next round of roads that fit into our budget that we will repave. We're on an annual process of doing a portion each year, always starting with those that are in the worst shape and trying to keep on top of our maintenance. We are right now finalizing the quantities to provide a draft list of the areas to pave as part of our 2024 road paving plan. This next one is a bit more of an update, the pool bathhouse. This one has also been talking about this for a while. It is proceeding pretty much on schedule. We're planning to have the pool open on time this year. The concrete work in front of the building will be done by the Crafton Public Works and is set to start next week. We did get some new information from the contractor recently since our last council meeting. They have provided us with an option for adding a new roof, and they've given us a quote for that for about $78,000, which is not a new roof entirely. It's a shell of a new roof over the existing roof, so the existing roof would stay. Now, this is not something that council had asked for, but it is something that the contractor priced out and gave us as an option, gave us this price if we would like them to add a new roof, a new cover for the roof over the older roof that is there. We wanted to open this up for a bit of discussion with council. When we proceeded with the work on the pool bathhouse last year, and we finalized the details and finalized what we were putting out to bid, we decided not to include a new roof in that project. The roof that is there was deemed to be safe. It will eventually need to be replaced, but the project costs were getting high. We had $500,000 budgeted, including some grant funding, and the cost of doing the roof was going to be substantially higher than that and was not necessary at that time. So we went with the option of redoing the rest of the building and keeping the existing roof that was deemed safe enough to keep at this time. It will need to be replaced at some point. We have a bit of time to continue seeking funding for that. But the $78,000 that we were quoted is substantially less than the cost of a new roof. Substantially less than the cost that we were looking at last year for a new roof. So we did want to bring this in front of council. The infrastructure committee discussed this at our meeting earlier this week, and it was our recommendation that we not proceed with the new option. It was our recommendation that we continue with the plan as it is, the bid that we put out to the contractor, and then we continue to look for other funding to do an actual new roof that would be more long-lasting and structurally sound for a longer period of time. But that being said, we did want to put this out, give this update to council and let everyone know that we have an option from the contractor. We have a quote to explore this, to go with this other route and have a secondary roof structure put on top of the existing roof that's there. So I wanted to pause and see if there are any questions from council about that or any questions.
How long would that potentially extend the life of the roof that we have now? As opposed to how long do we have before we actually have to replace the roof?
That I don't know if we have an answer to. This is not something that we had requested. It's something the contractor just provided to us. They're willing to sell us additional services and do another layer on for $78,000. We don't, as of the last study that we done on this last year, when this project was being finalized, there was no urgency to replace the roof, and we have no information since that gives us a different timeline. We've also been talking about, and part of the work that the Pitt students I mentioned are looking at the Public Works building. The Pitt students are also looking at the pool house building and exploring the benefits of potentially doing solar panels there. If we were to do solar panels there, it could substantially offset the electrical costs that we pay. We do pay quite a lot for electric during the summer when it's fully operational. We could also potentially qualify for other funds to help us do that. And if we were to do solar on the pool house roof, it would absolutely have to be completely redone at that point anyways. So it was the recommendation of the infrastructure committee that we continue with the course we had identified, continue to explore our best option for a fully redone proper roof and seek funding to do that in one project in the next couple of years.
Say if there's a consideration of solar panels and we're gonna have to redo the roof anyway, I would agree that we wait for now. What type of roof did they say that was going over top? Is it metal or shingle, or did they not say?
I might defer to the borough manager there. I believe it was a metal.
Shingles on
Was it
top of
shingle?
shingles.
I'm sorry, Colton, I couldn't hear your question.
Did they say what type of roof was going over top of the existing roof? Was it metal or shingle? Just out of curiosity.
My impression was that they were gonna put plywood down, like another layer, a thin layer of plywood, and then shingles.
Okay, yeah.
Because then they wanted that because there have been small leaks in the roof now, but you have to understand that leaks in the pool house aren't that big of a deal because they spray down the entire pool house basically daily during the summer. So it's not the same as a regular indoor building. And those patches can be patched from the inside.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I would agree to wait.
That is all the specific information that we've gotten the infrastructure committee. The total was $71,480 to install a new roof over the existing. And the actual details received from the contractor, the manager would have, but we were not provided.
Yeah, I don't have the specific details in front of me.
So we proceed with our plan as is. Sounds like there are no other questions or interest in making a change to that. The water main replacement schedule. I might ask the borough manager to give an update on that. I don't have a lot of details about that.
That's okay. Yeah. So we don't have the exact dates when they're starting. This is the PA American Water. But those are the streets. We did put out a Savvy Citizen blast with an image with all the exact streets that will be done. Only one of which has been done recently, and we might actually be hopping in with them to do some sewer work on Starrett when they do Starrett. But we're still confirming that at this time. And we did have several 5-ton vehicle signs placed around the borough, specifically up by Starrett, where there are several brick streets in that area. And we tried to place them at the entrances to that neighborhood so that they were very noticeable. But that I'm not exactly sure when PA American Water is planning to start that work at this point.
Any questions on that? We also have an update on the C20. This is one of the stormwater areas and sets of stormwater projects that we have been talking about. Council had looked at some potential projects to address the C20 needs. This is the area that is down by the Crafton Park and the shopping center. We had been shown several different project areas and examples, and council had voted on which ones to proceed with in one of our previous council meetings a couple of meetings ago. Gateway has been continuing, our engineer, Gateway, as well as our borough engineer, Larry, has been coordinating with them, continuing with really advancing the designs that we had told them to proceed with to get them to the point that they can be submitted to Alcoasand. We were aiming to have that because there's a GROW grant cycle. We've gotten GROW grants before. We've been syncing all of our stormwater improvements with the Alcoasand GROW grant cycles so that we can get that grant funding and the match funding to do those projects with a substantial amount of funding from Alcoasand. So that project is proceeding, and we're on track to be sending in the letter of intent for the GROW grant by the end of March. The sewer work, operations and maintenance sewer work, a list of repairs. We do repairs on a regular basis. We do repairs each year to maintain the sewers that we have. It's a lot cheaper to maintain them each year, to do assessments on which ones are getting a bit older and may need some repairs. It's cost us a lot less than to wait until they fall into complete disrepair or collapse. So this is a part of our regular maintenance. The list of repairs is being advertised this week, and we will be opening bids for a contractor to be doing those repairs. Those bids are expected to open in April.
And the list of the repairs are on the OneDrive, and they were emailed out to everybody on council. So you'll be able to see the locations of the repairs. And the other thing is, and as example, this is funded by the sewer fund that our residents pay through their taxes. And Johnson Street was an issue that has been on the books for many, many years and was going to be very inexpensive to correct many years ago, but it started to get into worse and worse disrepair and wasn't addressed. Then last year, it took a good portion of our sewer fund to repair that sewer. So being on top of this is really important, and that's something that Larry and the infrastructure committee are continually monitoring.
A lot of repairs can be done without digging up any properties. They can be done with linings that can be, handled from endpoints versus an actual break or collapse that has to be dug up in site and then fully replaced. And that is the situation that we had along Johnson Street, where we had to do a lot of digging and full out replacement. So that sewer work, again, the list of repairs have been shared, and those bids will be opening in April to have a contractor do those. And then finally, on the engineers update, we've also been talking about potential street safety improvements and streetscaping improvements. There have been various discussions, including here in council meetings, about speeding and desire for more stop signs and traffic calming and some of the sightline issues around the school and elsewhere. One of the funding sources that we've been looking towards is a federal funding source that came out of the infrastructure law a few years ago. It's an annual fund called the Safe Streets for All federal grant. We missed the deadline last year. We had our eyes on other things, but we have been watching it and preparing for it to come out this year. That grant applications just opened about a week ago. It has rolling deadlines this year in April and May, and then again in August, although if the August round wouldn't apply until next year. So we are hoping to have an application in either the April or the May timeline, which would mean that if we're successful, we would get the grant funds this year. The use for that, there are several different uses that we can use the Safe Streets for All funds for. But you have to have met different requirements based on what you'd like to use it for. You need to have an action plan in order to use it for any kind of construction projects. We do not have an action plan, so we will be seeking the Safe Streets for All federal grant funds to create an action plan. Once we do an action plan, we would then be eligible for a future year Safe Streets for All grant to implement and build whatever comes out of our action plan. That would be community-wide. So it would be a Safe Streets action plan for the entire borough and identify areas that are safety issues, conflict points, and identify projects that we may want to do, large or small, to improve our street safety and our transportation safety. To help us with that, we're also reaching out to the newly formed Southwestern Pennsylvania Municipal Project Hub, which opened 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's a brand new resource that is helping municipalities with technical assistance and guidance in pursuing grants and preparing the applications. So we'll be reaching out to them to help us prepare a successful application. That is all for this report.
Any questions? Ms. Costello? Thank you. Managers report, Mr. Price?
Yes, thank you. Okay. The first thing on my agenda is a substitute part-time crossing guard. The police chief has asked Borough Council to approve the hire of Aaron Dawson. Excuse me? Okay. To approve the hire of Aaron Dawson as a substitute part-time crossing guard at the hourly rate of $13.49 per hour. So I'd like to get a motion to approve the hire of Aaron Dawson as a substitute part-time crossing guard as recommended by Police Chief Mark Sumter.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler?
Second.
Ms. Compatello? Okay, give a second. Any discussion or questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is disposition of documents. This is a resolution authorizing the destruction of specific records according to the rules set forth in the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual. For those of you who haven't been involved before, this is something that typically municipalities go through every year as we purge documents that we've had in prior years. Pennsylvania has a very specific list of rules for every type of document it's about an 80-page form that tells you how long each document needs to be saved. And so these are the documents that are being purged this year. And that's what's on that resolution. So I'd like to get a motion to approve resolution 2403, a resolution authorizing the destruction of specific records according to the rules set forth in the Pennsylvania Municipal Records Manual.
So moved.
Ms. Bollenbacher?
Second.
Mr. Hope? All right, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Great. The next thing on the agenda is a pool and seasonal wage resolution. This is a resolution setting the wages for non-union pool and seasonal staff for 2024. So I'd like a motion to approve resolution 2024-04, setting wages for the seasonal borough staff for 2024.
So moved.
Ms. Bollenbacher?
Second.
Ms. Compatello? Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and the last thing on my list here is the pool hire list. This is a list of employees that the borough plans to hire for, and this was on the Council OneDrive. And so I'd like to, and this is for the pool season. So the Carissima and Catherine have done a great job getting a whole list of applicants together. So we're ready to go. And so I'd like to get a motion to approve the 2024 seasonal employment hire listing for the Crafton Pool as recommended by the pool manager. So we did have the pool manager review and approve this list as well.
So moved.
And Ms. Bollenbacher?
Second.
Mr. Hope? So any questions or comments? I had two actually. The pool manager is Heather Ravenstall, and she's been the pool manager for how many years, Chris?
I think
Yeah.
5 or 6
yeah.
since I've been here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's been quite a few years and she's done a great job with her and her team. And also the list shows the retention rate and it's about a 75% retention of folks that were with us last year that have come back. I've never seen that. That is absolutely amazing. And those are, people that are willing to come back to work the pool again. I believe we have some openings too still. Is it the senior lifeguards, or not senior, but the instructors? I saw on the list.
Well, they like kind of cross-train, so
Okay.
lifeguards will do both.
We'll keep
yeah.
it. Okay, so we are full on
I
the
believe we are still
Yeah.
looking for male attendants, though.
male attendance.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And if people are interested, they should
They can contact the office.
contact. Okay, great. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
That is all for me.
Great. Standing committee reports, finance, administration, sustainability. Ms. Perry, are you able to talk, or do you have any report?
She is not. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. She is not able to talk and she doesn't have any updates.
Okay, great. The meeting for this group is actually next week for the committees. So there will be more at the next meeting.
Well, I could just give on her behalf. We've been giving regular updates, just repetitive, so everyone is aware and can anticipate this, but that committee will be looking into options to renew our waste management contract. Our waste management contract has been in place for 10 years. It is expiring this year. So we're very happy that our costs did not go up this year, but we know a lot of other communities' costs did. And we are trying to be open and transparent with the community that our costs are almost certainly going to go up substantially next year, because the costs nationally and the costs locally have dramatically increased. And those are just market factors. They have to do with the market for recycling and global changes. That committee will be looking to get as the best deal that they can, but we do want, been giving regular updates to the community so that people are aware that next year it is very likely that regardless of what we do or don't do, we will not find as good a deal with any waste management company as we have currently.
Okay. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Compitello.
So I have only one other update, and it's a very minor one, our zoning ordinance update, which has been a joint process with Crafton and Ingram working together, but each getting our own zoning code update. That is still in progress, but it's in its final phase. Our consultant ZoneCo is doing the final draft of their rewrite, which they'll then be sharing with the steering committee and council members. When that is finalized, it will be going to full public review for the community. The website with past progress and status reports is still active, and that is linked on our website if anyone is looking to get caught up in what has happened to date. But otherwise, that's our only update. We're still waiting on the final written draft from them. And that's all for me.
Thank you. Planning Commission, Mr. Rodilla is not here. The January and February, I believe, Planning Commission meetings were canceled. So the next one, I believe, is on the 4th Tuesday of the month, which will be coming up in a couple weeks. Communication and Recreation, Ms. Bolenbacher.
Just same updates as I've had, although we are actively looking for vendors, food trucks, crafters for the upcoming events this year. We did have our first senior dinner on Saturday, May 2nd. It was a Wizard of Oz theme, and from what I understand, it went over very well.
It's very fun.
Thanks again to Hanlon's Diner for the food and McDermott Funeral Home for the themed cookies and desserts. The next one will be Saturday, May 4th. And then we'll have one also on August 3rd and November 2nd. We have our annual cleanup and Arbor Day on April 27th. We are having our music festival on June 1st. Of course, our Independence Day and fireworks on July 4th, Fall Fest September 28th. Haunted Crafton will run from October 19th through Halloween with a trunk or treat to kick off on the 19th along with the tour. Our celebration of lights will be December 7th and our Christmas house tour will be December 15th. Lots of details to come on each as they get closer.
There was recently a savvy citizen asking for, it was the sponsorships or vendors,
Correct.
correct? Okay,
Yeah.
so people, if they're interested in the Music Fest, Independence Day and Fall Fest, being sponsors, vendors, what
Yeah.
else?
They
Anything?
can go to the
Food trucks,
website, there's a
yeah.
form there, yeah.
Yep. That's good. No updates on the logo. They're still hard at work at that. Hopefully we'll hear from something in the next couple of weeks. We did get our submissions for the newsletter, and it looks like we are on track for our early April distribution. That's it. Thank you.
Great, great. Commission vacancy. So Ms. Polkownik and Mr. Radilla aren't here, so I'll give this update. We currently have four openings, so Civil Service, Zoning, and Library Board. We received a couple applications for the Civil Service already. Zoning Hearing Board, I believe we might have received one application, and Library Board, 4 applications for those positions. In addition, the Shade Tree is coming in a couple weeks. We did receive one application for that. And a couple applications already for Planning Commission, which expires at the end or middle of April. Then you can see the ones that are expiring coming this year. So the postings on Savvy Citizen have worked really well in getting the education out there that we have these openings and we are getting them in. So Pam or Ms. Polkownik and Mr. Radilla will be interviewing along with the commission chairs and making a selection hopefully very soon for council to approve, or making a recommendation to council to approve those candidates and get those positions filled. Any questions? Okay. Council of Government, Ms. Bodenbach.
We have not had a COG meeting since our last council meeting, so my only report is our next meeting is next Thursday, March 21st at 6:30 at the Ingram Borough Building. If anybody would like to join me, I ask everyone.
It's not a far travel either.
not a far
Not at all.
What time did you say on Thursday? I'm sorry.
6:30.
And maybe, wait, oh yeah, I may be able to do that. I'll let you know.
Cool, let me know.
Sorry.
Our next council meeting is in 2 weeks on March 28th at 7:00 PM. Does anybody else have anything to add from an announcement standpoint? Okay. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and physical address for the record. Sure, Ben.
My name is Ben Belmont. I live at 270 West Steuben Street, 15205.
Yeah.
Wanted to mention that the primary day is coming up. Yeah,
I forgot that on the agenda.
it's coming up on the 23rd. You have to be registered with one of the major parties to vote by April 8th. The last day to request a mail-in ballot is April 16th.
Very good. Thank you very much. And I think I remember why it's not on the agenda, because it was actually moved up. So 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I believe, for the primary for this year, because it's a presidential and Pennsylvania was such a big state for that. So it was moved up. And it typically is in May. So we will have that definitely on the next agendas. And it is April 23rd. We're voting, which is a rare case for Pennsylvania. We've always been in May. So that's good. And make sure to check your voting location, because those have changed. I think the Legion, of course, is no longer. There's 2 or 3, I believe 3 locations here at the Borough Building, and then some at the churches. We will add that to the agenda definitely for our next meeting. Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, Mr. Wozniak.
I'm Greg Wozniak. I live at 1773 Bar Avenue. Anyway, I had a question. You talked about the waste management contract. I was wondering if the public is going to be kind of kept up to speed or notified about the negotiations? Like, who you may be negotiating with, what that might mean as far as recycling, if recycling is gonna be changing, whether or not there's gonna be a situation where trash cans are gonna be mandated by the the waste management company, whatever company that might be. So if you could I just wondering if you're going to keep the public up to date on those types of changes that will affect their daily lives. So will that be, I assume you'll be updating us?
Yeah, we can respond to, we don't have to respond, but basically the importance of it is we have already started on the contract, not on the contract, on the process for it. And the goal is, once we get all the RFPs in, we're going to bring them to a council session for public opinion to listen to everything, get feedback before we make any decision. We want to make sure that it is open and a very collaborative process before we make any decisions on that. Waste management is so important, and we understand it affects all of us because of not only the price, but what potentially we could have to do.
Right. Okay.
Just to add to that, too. As you mentioned negotiations, just to be clear on what the process is, we will be we're putting out seeking bids from potential contractors. So we're not in a negotiation phase yet. We're seeking bids from contractors, and we'll get their responses, and we'll see what we get, and then we may be in a position to negotiate. But our first step is to put out bids and see who responds.
Right. I guess my concern for the citizens is how it impacts them, as far as having to get new receptacles, what types of trucks are going to be coming through, just within the bidding process. I don't know, when you ask for bids, if you ask what their pickup practices were as far as requirements to the citizen.
Yeah, I know.
I'll just add that one of the things that you typically do is you scope out the bid specs as to how you would prefer the companies conduct themselves, but you may have alternates in there because a lot of companies do like to have their own trash cans or whatnot, and so then you're able to look at it in sort of a bigger picture. And as we develop the specs and the specification for the contract, that's where I think there'll be the ability for some public input at that point in time to hear what folks think about the different options that may be out there. And so right now, council's in sort of an information gathering phase. Who's doing the work? How are they doing in other communities? What are our options? And then put together the specs, come to the public, put it out for bid, and see what we get.
Okay.
And one of the things we learned is that Waste Management actually owns all the landfills. So anybody that we work with has to pay Waste Management to use the landfill that's in this area. So it makes it really, really difficult. But I can tell you, we've been committed to make sure that the process goes smoothly, and we want public opinion on it before we make any decision. That is so critically important. And we want to save as much as we can.
Correct.
So that's why we renewed for the 10th year, the current contract. And, we're working due diligently to make sure that we have everything ready for the RFP process whenever we get them in. And we're hoping to get more than just one response from that too.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Wozniak. Anybody else here present? Just raise your hand. And on Zoom, you can raise your hand on Zoom. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.